Thank you. Right.
Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
2 in the box!
Ready to go.
We be fast and
They be slow.
Wow. A second Super Saiyan? Second in order, perhaps, but by no means in stature. Your fight is with me now.
I'll have my revenge, and Deathstalker too.
Man, I can't fucking believe this. Another basement, another elevator. How can the same shit happen to the same guy twice?
Oh, please, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
How's it going, everyone? Thank you for tuning into another episode of Inside the Sequel. I'm your host, Cris, as always, and thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to have this episode up. Last week, we had the two directors of Scream Queens by Nightmare on Elm Street to talk about Sleepaway Camp 2, and it's October, and there are so many sequels in October, and I could not think how to not include a Halloween movie in the monthly lineup, because when you think about iconic horror movies and movie characters, I don't think any are more prevalent than Michael Myers, and so I had to have one in there. But I also can't think of a director that is so iconic and maybe should be on a Mount Rushmore than Rob Zombie. So then I kind of figured, hey, he just so happens to have a sequel, and what bloke slides into my DMs and says, you know what, this movie fucks, and I love it. So I'm here to talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Lock the place up tight. I don't want any surprises till I get there in the morning.
6 guys lift 1 stiff. That's one for the books.
Help! I'm trapped. Ah! Help me!
Since the authorities haven't been able to produce a body, do you think Michael's alive or dead?
Will he kill again?
Let me make things clear. Michael Myers is dead. D-E-A-D.
So, how are you feeling?
Nightmares are chewing at my head again. They just seem to be getting worse.
I've had 4 calls about Michael Myers today, all in the space of 10 minutes.
Are you a giant? I know he's not gonna come back just because of some stupid holiday. I need you to call 911. We're at 15 Cherry. Maya, what's happening? Nurse.
Evil is here.
I'm not me. Who are you then? I'm Michael Myers' sister. He's gonna kill me.
It's going to be all right. It's going to be fine.
No, it's not.
And with me, like I said, is a bloke that I'm just so excited to have on. I'm insulting him because I know I can dish it with him and he'll take it and then dish it back harder. And Lord knows I need to be humbled. But I have, again, coming back for a second appearance, it's Mark Wanner. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, Cris. I didn't slide into your DMs. You gave me the choice between this or Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and literally any other choice you give me, I'm going to choose Venom, Let There Be Carnage, but...
What are you doing?
I'm putting my hands up.
You are making us look bad.
No, I am not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Why would you do that?
you had to pick one of my like absolute favorite horror movies. So like, of course I'm gonna pick that over that. I'm thrilled to be here. I love this movie.
I'm so, pulling the curtain back. I actually didn't slide in his DMs. Mark's one of the few I don't have to slide in. He's just always ready for my beck and call. And, but I did some research on him. I was like, he's pretty cool. We talked about Transformers, but, I need to know more. And I did my homework, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, Mark really fucks with Halloween 2. And that's like crazy because I too fuck with Halloween 2, both Halloween 2s, and soon to be the third Halloween 2 that's going to be coming out on October 15th.
Oh God, this is going to be a Halloween 2 fuck fest.
Honestly, like, even if we didn't get a Halloween Kills, I would say the direct sequels to Halloween are airtight when it comes to, the original Halloween 2 and then Rob Zombies.
Don't jinx it. I mean, yes, they are, but I want Halloween Kills to be airtight too. I want it to follow in these solid footsteps.
I'm at this point now, if Laurie Strode doesn't like take care of Michael, I'm just going to have to do it myself. Cause it's like every sequel, she's like, I'm going to have to take care of Michael. Well, clearly you can't. So I'm going to be the one that does it. I'm from Illinois, Haddonfield's in Illinois. It's right on my way back home anyway. I'll make a stop. I'll take care of Michael. We got shooters on his head top, is what we like to say.
Oh, shooters. Speaking of Halloween, the only Halloween movie to actually have shooters trained on Michael.
I'm curious, is there going to be a hospital in this new one as well?
Oh yeah, have you seen the trailer? Like right at the beginning, Laurie's in the hospital as the sheriff's visiting Judy Greer, and he's like, Michael Myers is still alive.
Oh yeah, that's right. Dude, that trailer. I've been trying to keep my nerves calmed with this new one. With 2018's Halloween, I was ultra hyped. I was like stressing out trying to get tickets for opening night and everything like that, and I was just so excited. With this one, I'm trying to calm my nerves a little bit. It's just like, I don't want to hyperventilate like I did then. I was like a stress. I was like full on stress. You're trying to it was kind of like when you get tickets to like Force Awakens, for the first time, you were just like, holy shit, like I have to be there for it. And this one, it feels like, I don't have to stress out as much. I know how it goes.
Yeah, I am definitely stressed. Like, here's the thing. This October is jam-packed. Like, this week, well, after we've before this episode drops, but after we've recorded, No Time to Die comes out. We've also got Dune. We've got The French Dispatch. There are numerous movies to be excited for this month.
And Last Night in Soho.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's right. I knew I was forgetting one. And I am excited for all of these, but like my excitement is dulled just because Halloween Kills is coming out. Like, that's kind of eating up all my excitement. Like, I just want to see that already so I can continue to be excited for Dune and Last Night in Soho.
Yeah, my two big ones are definitely Halloween Kills and Dune, and then Last Night in Soho. But I'm not a big Bond guy. Like, No Time to Die, I'd be like, you have plenty of time to die because there's so much more movies to watch besides James Bond movies.
We won't get into that. I am a huge Bond guy, but this is not the podcast for that.
I'm gonna be on full on, like, No Time to, like, sure, Ana de Armas is in it. That's awesome. You see Oscar winner Rami Malek and Oscar winner Christoph Waltz. That's cool and all. But I don't know who their characters are. I haven't watched any of them.
Let There Be Carnage star Naomi Harris. I almost said Venom, No Time to Die.
Honestly, I like the Let There Be Carnage is kind of a cool name that would fit a Bond movie, but for some reason they didn't. Yeah, I don't know, like more like James Bond slander. Like, I haven't watched really any except the Pierce Brosnan ones, and I feel like I've done just perfectly fine.
Pierce Brosnan is my boy.
Yeah,
that was my first Bond. See, God damn it. I said I wasn't going to talk about Bond, and you just got me started talking about Bond.
I'm cutting you off. We're not talking about Bond, but I want to know, Mark, what have you been up to in the podcasting realm, maybe YouTube realm? What have you been watching? What have you been talking to? Who have you been cheating on me with other podcasters? I need to know. I've been gone a month. I need to catch up.
I did a let's see, what have I done? I did a film feast with my good friend Hayden. We covered a double feature of Vertical Limit and Poseidon. Only we would attempt something so crazy. I also did a Schlock and Awe where I talked about The Dark Knight and Daylight. It was inspired by a Taylor Swift song. And yeah, that's it really in the podcasting realm. Have not done much in the YouTube realm, and by not much I mean anything. I will be appearing on another podcast later this month. I don't know if it'll drop this month, but it's horror themed, so I hope it does. But I will be talking about another one of my absolute favorite horror films, and I am already excited for that.
Yeah, you're cheating on me. You're making your rounds. You're on Schlock and All. You've been on the Film Feast, Cobwebs, absolute mad lad. But yeah, I've been gone a month. I think everyone knew why. When Kanye dropped Donda, I just had to take a month away just to kind of pause and reflect on my life and meaning. And now I've come full circle and I'm back onto podcasting again.
Did you get enough out of Donda? Did you get everything you wanted? Were you able to get all your analysis out of the way?
You know what's crazy? Donda has done more for me in my personal life than organized religion has that I've had more in my life of. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And
Rob
it's like,
Zombie's Halloween 2 has done more for me than organized religion in my life.
That's what I want to hear. Rob Zombie is a religion when it comes to film. I really do think so. It's not just cult following when it comes to Rob Zombie. It is a legit religion. And I am fucking sworn and baptized with that.
Oh, 100%. And we'll get into that. This is going to be Rob Zombie fuckfest too, but Rob Zombie's also bigger in the way that he seems to have just as many haters as he does lovers.
Much like organized religion too. Odd. Before we get to Rob Zombie though, so like, what else have you been up to, Mark? I mean, you're kind of an enigma figure for me.
Really?
You're kind of like Noah Klein, who's been on here a few times. You know, like I
thought you were talking about like Noah of Noah's Ark.
Oh, that fuck? I don't know.
Who is an enigma? Darren Aronofsky only makes movies about enigmas.
Okay, I didn't know I had Mitch on the podcast. I don't want to hear any more about Darren Aronofsky. But what have you been up? What have you been watching, man? Like, what? It's October. Everyone's been bragging and like clout chasing what they've been watching in October and bragging about the new releases from Mike Flanagan. And I'm like, well, okay, whatever. What have you been watching, man? What's been getting you going?
I haven't watched the new release from Mike Flanagan yet. I've watched a lot of old releases from Mike Flanagan. I finally caught Gerald's Game, which I missed out on back in 2017.
Damn, you got bored,
that was awesome.
Oh,
what?
I said, damn, you got bored, eh?
I rewatched Oculus, which that guy just has a solid filmography. I'm pretty sure my least favorite of his would be like Before I Wake, and I still really like that movie. So,
do you watch his
Mike
TV
Flanagan
shows too?
I watched The Haunting of Hill House, which I absolutely loved. I'm notoriously awful when it comes to getting through TV shows, so I'll start one and I'll just like drop off halfway through because I'm interested in something else, and that's kind of what happened with Bly Manor, but I still really like what I saw of that, which was about half.
Oh, is it Bly Manor? Oh, I thought it was Bleh Manor.
Oh God, my friend Hayden is listening to this and he just burst out laughing because he does not like Bly Manor.
Dude, even The Haunting of Hill House, it was more like The Haunting of Boar House for me. I gave that
you
show...
just lost Hayden there.
I gave that show 3 episodes.
Oh man, that episode, I was putty in that show's hands. Like every way that show could have successfully manipulated me, it did to the max.
I don't know what it is about Mike Flanagan, and that's great it's done that for you, but for me, he just kind of breathes Lifetime TV for horror, older horror fans in a way, or you know,
he does this great job of mixing like really cheesy melodrama with just, I don't know, hard hitting serious emotions and like genuine horror. Like, oh God, Dr. Sleep. I think Dr. Sleep's just perfect.
That's one I'm holding out on. I own the Blu-ray, and I do intend on watching it for my October film. I'm trying to try and keep track on Letterboxd, which I'm notoriously bad at updating. But this October, I'm really committed to trying to update my October watches this year, and I do really intend on watching Doctor Sleep. I'm not a big Shining guy, but all this raving for Doctor Sleep has got me after years, like a year or two since it came out. I'm like, okay, let me finally now catch up on the buzz of this.
I mean, if you're not a Shining guy, Doctor Sleep might just be the movie for you, because it's the Shining movie for people who are not Shining fans.
That's what I've heard. Like, I heard like people like The Shining's amazing, or The Shining wasn't that good, and that both parties liked it. So we'll see where, Cris, whatever they call me on Twitter these days, and with opinions, we'll see what I think of Doctor Sleep. I might be cool, the Doctor Sleep. I might put a top hat on and just, take a quick snooze on the movie. What did you think of Malignant?
Malignant. That sounds familiar.
That
sounds like the kind of movie that I watched, loved, and immediately bought the poster for.
Oh my God.
I'm a big movie poster collector because I've spent a lot of years working at movie theaters and I can just get one sheets for free, but haven't worked at a theater for a while, so I miss getting them. So I think this is the first time I've done this, where I actually went on eBay and bought a one sheet for it. But I did that like the day after I saw the movie because I was just so obsessed with it. Like I pretty much shared the sentiments of all of our mutual Twitter followers and thinking it's just like one of the greatest things ever.
Oh, are we not mutuals on Twitter? Because I don't agree with that statement at all.
Okay, well, let's hear you justify that, and then I'll decide if we're still mutuals.
Well, I have to ask, did you watch the movie in theaters or on HBO Max?
Oh, I watched that in theaters.
Oh, you did?
I'm not going to miss no judgment against people who don't go to theaters. I feel like that's what what it was sounding like. I was saying, no judgment, but I'm not going to miss James Wan in theaters. Also, I don't really focus well on movies at home. So if I want to have the movie have its full effect on me, I kind of have to watch it in theaters where I'm forced to stay off my phone.
Right. You seem like the type of menace that would say something like, there's no time in the present, and go see the movie in theaters. I respect that. That's awesome. Because
well, I would say that, but it took me over a month to watch Shang-Chi and Jungle Cruise. So
you don't have to see Jungle Cruise, but Shang-Chi.
Well, I did.
Mark Water is a god of X-Men right now. I'm convinced. But you saw Malignant in theaters, and that trailer, I was with my partner Charlie, and she was like, what is that movie? And I'm like, I don't know, and I don't care. And it's a James Wan film, so my thought was like, it's probably another Insidious, Conjuring, bumfuck movie, whatever I don't pay attention to. And we were watching Candyman that night too, so. Which was weird that it came out September. It seems like a crime against humanity that a horror movie, something like Candyman, comes out in September instead of October. But yeah.
Can you blame them? They got to go up against No Time to Die, Halloween Kills, and Dune, which, I don't know, maybe Dune will be a complete box office bomb. I mean, it's kind of amazing because I know Blade Runner 2049 was not a huge box office hit. So it's kind of amazing that he's getting to make an even bigger movie.
That's cute. That's a really cute.
I'm just talking in terms of box office. Denis Villeneuve is a god as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he can do any wrong, but I mean,
I'm convinced. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know Blade Runner was not. I worked at the Alamo Drafthouse when it came out, and every showing was selling out. So I thought, this movie's fucking smashing. But then I was looking at the box office, and pretty much no one else was seeing it outside of the Drafthouse audiences.
Yeah, better viewing people, honestly. But oh man, Daddy slander, that's tough. I'm boldly gonna say I would be surprised if Dune doesn't do better than No Time to Die. I don't think No Time to Die is gonna do well. I think there's more of the buzz is around who's the next Bond going to be than the actual movie.
I disagree. I think Daniel Craig is just a guaranteed box office smash. No matter Daniel Craig as James Bond. I don't know, maybe just Daniel Craig in general, because Knives Out was a smashing success.
See, that's the thing about Bond movies. It seems like everyone's complaining about a Bond movie coming out unless it was Skyfall. You know, the only times when Daniel Craig was Bond, was like, this wasn't a good Bond movie. This movie wasn't that good. But then Skyfall, everyone really liked.
Well, Skyfall, everyone really liked because Skyfall was awesome.
See, I didn't see it, but I did like that song from Adele.
I think that's the best James Bond song, and I think Skyfall is my favorite James Bond movie. So
nice.
Yeah, Skyfall was special.
Right.
But
was it as special as Malignant?
It's too early to tell. You know what? No, I can't put Malignant quite as high as Skyfall yet, but give Malignant a few years and a few more viewings, and it easily could be.
You see, I saw Malignant on HBO Max, and I totally forgot the movie existed until Daniel told me, you guys need to watch Malignant. And I was bored, you know, and I was with Charlie, and I was like, oh, we need to watch this movie because Daniel thinks it's like, you know, God's gift to man. Not to get religious because I'm not, but that's the
we were waiting for all your HBO chips were on Reminiscence. After Reminiscence came out, you just didn't give a shit of what went on HBO Max anymore.
Dude, HBO Max is actually like the GOAT when it comes to streaming services. Like, I don't know why people still talk about Netflix and chill. I'm like on HBO Max and let's bang to the max because it's like all this stuff is on there. It's just
HBO Max, let's bang to the max. Did you just come up with that, or have you had that in your back pocket a while?
I just thought about that while drinking this vodka tonic at 6 p.m.
I don't believe that for a minute, Chris. You had that one planned way ahead.
I wish I did, bud. But yeah, so we you know, HBO Max, it's like it's been goated. It had fucking the Snyder's Cut Justice League, King Kong versus Godzilla, which is the best movie of 2021, and then it also had.
Oh, hey,
Mortal
there's
Kombat.
a disagreement we can get for, but I won't. I know how much you like that movie. I will leave it peaceful.
It has Mortal Kombat. It has so many great things, but my God, that app cannot function. It is so buggy, but it's worth the effort to get some of that good stuff.
I don't know what I was watching a while back, but there was something I was watching. I couldn't even get it to pause. And when I finally got it to pause, I couldn't get it to play. There was one day where literally the only thing I could watch on HBO Max that didn't give me problems was Aquafina is Nora from Queens.
Oh, I want to watch that.
It's a funny show. I ended up binging the whole show in one day, and I am terrible when it comes to TV shows. So that should tell you how great it is. It's not great. It's fine. It's really funny. And that's all you really need from a show like that.
That's so awesome, dude. But yeah, I'm with you. The app is so bummy, but man, the content is there.
The content, yet you can't beat the content. Like on top of the new movies, just all the HBO shows, the Max originals. Well,
dude, it had Space Jam 2 as well. And I watched it. I didn't watch Suicide Squad.
Don't bait me, Chris. You gave me the option to talk about Space Jam 2. I picked Halloween 2. Don't tell me this was just a sting to get me to come on and talk about Space Jam 2.
I just need to know there's another human being that's watched Space Jam 2 besides me. I feel alone.
Again, I'm calling out Hayden a lot on this episode. Hayden watched it. He sent me plenty of clips from it, and I couldn't believe what I was watching.
I need Hayden to be on here next time. Will you sign a contract that says that you will be on another episode with Hayden as well?
I feel like Hayden and I are just going to become like a podcasting Abbott and Costello. Like you can't get one of us without the other.
Oh man, I don't know if it would turn into that, but I need to meet this man with these kind of takes. But yeah, Malignant. It's a cute little movie on HBO Max before Dune comes on there, you know. But I'll see Dune in theaters instead of Malignant, like on HBO Max. But
in between those two,
it's a cute little surprise, you know. Like it's
between those two, you got The Many Saints of Newark. Are you gonna watch that?
Barf, no.
I don't like The Sopranos. This actually looks like a Sopranos movie for people who don't like The Sopranos, so I kind of want to check it out. I mean,
I feel like the trailer...
It's got Vera Farmiga. I'm sold there. I don't care what else is happening in it. If it's got her, I'm going to be there.
Good point. But my last slander of Malignant, like, boy, did my head actually hurt watching that movie. For the first half hour, maybe up to 45 minutes, my head was hurting. I was like, oh, I feel like I'm sedated and forced to watch Insidious or a Conjuring movie right now because it has the exact same tone. And like, oh, that really bad Pixies cut of the movie at a random spot. Okay. Then it got good. It could have been goated.
Ladies and gentlemen, I genuinely don't know if he's speaking the truth or if he's just trying to bait me into yelling, but I'm not taking the bait. I'm sorry you felt that way, Chris. And that's all I'm going to say.
So, Mark, do you remember when you first watched Rob Zombie's 2007 Halloween? And then when he watched Rob Zombie's 2009 Halloween? Do you remember?
Oh, baby, have I got a story for you. Because that's Rob's like 2007. I was a horror fan for a long time, but I didn't really recognize it until 2007. And a lot of things happened that year. And Rob Zombie and Halloween and his Halloween are kind of at the center of that. So like Grindhouse came out, which made me realize, oh wait, it's okay to like these like crazy old horror movies. Like you don't have to feel ashamed for that. And I watched the documentary Halloween 25 Years of Terror, which is like maybe the OG like franchise encompassing horror documentary. And it's to date still my favorite, even though it's the length of one movie and not 7. And watching that, I was just like, oh my God, I stan the Halloween franchise, don't I? It's like because I had always been kind of obsessed with slasher movies, kind of R-rated horror movies, because my specifically my mom, she did not like me watching anything like really graphically violent. And so I'd always have to kind of sneakily watch those or watch parts of them. I remember there was a website I went to. I can't remember what it was, but like in the earlier days of the internet, not the earlier days of the internet, the earlier like 2000s days of the internet. And
you mean the golden age of the internet? Really?
The golden age. Well, I don't know. This was like after Napster had shut down.
Yeah, that wasn't too hot.
There were like, they had all these like kill scenes from horror movies or these like scare scenes, and so that was the only way I could like watch any parts of these movies without just seeing them on TV. So I would just watch these clips over and over again, just building in my imagination, oh my God, I want to see the rest of this movie. And then I could only ever watch them if they aired on TV. But I mean, I wanted to watch all the horror franchises, but the one that always really stuck out to me was Halloween, just because that Michael Myers mask, that pale, emotionless mask, terrifies me to no end. Even to this day, honestly, whenever I see that mask, I've got a Michael Myers mask up on my shelf, and if I look at that when I'm falling asleep, I got to leave the light on.
So lucky, dude. I really want a Michael Myers mask, like just to have. And the ones I look at like oh God, what's the Halloween shop called? Spirit of
Halloween.
Yeah. Every time I go into one, I always think this is the season that I buy a Rob Zombie Michael Myers mask, because I love those. I love the Rob Zombie masks. Besides the 1 and 2s, but man, I really always want one. But they're so expensive. So props to you. What's your secret? Yeah. Do you just shell out the money? Do you just take it and just pay for it, or do you like wait until the day after Halloween and hope for the best? What's your Spirit of Halloween plan? Like, I need to know. What's your game plan?
I have always, like, for the longest time, again, tying back into how obsessed I was with like the Halloween franchise when I was a kid, I always wanted a Michael Myers mask, but they were always too expensive. And when I was basically living under my parents' roof and it was their money going towards everything, of course they're not going to buy me a $60 Halloween mask. But then after I graduated college, I'm making my own money. I see a Halloween 2 mask, like the OG Halloween 2.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I think it was Party City or something. And I'm like, oh, this is happening. This is finally happening. And I got it. And then I think maybe later that same year, actually, or maybe it was the year after, I got a Rob Zombie Halloween mask.
Nice.
They're long gone now. Like, they didn't last me that long. They weren't top-notch quality, but those were... It was nice to finally have those and just like be able to wear them. I didn't like properly display them on mannequin heads like I should have. I just kind of left them laying around. But
you see, I think the fun of those is like wearing it in your house with yourself from time to time and send snaps to your friends. That's what I would do.
I definitely scared the shit out of plenty of people with those. I also wore it to a retrospective screening of the original Halloween too. And
that's awesome.
I think I was the only one there doing it. I kind of felt a little foolish, but I didn't care.
No, I love that shit. I love when fandoms outside of the MCU, because it's toxic, and probably the Star Wars fandom too. I applaud that kind of shit. I think that's really cool when people like get on those get-ups. But for me, the rotation of Halloween masks were always Freddy Krueger and Ghostface. Those were the two for me.
Well, and Ghostface makes sense because Ghostface is cheap. You can get that mask for like $10 at any store. It's just something you just slip on your face.
It's still cheaper to buy a Ghostface mask than beef jerky in this country, and it's absolutely outrageous. I don't know why beef jerky prices are where they're at. It's pissing me off. I'm getting tight right now. Fuck, like why?
I went to a retrospective screening of Scream one year, and like those masks are so cheap, they were basically able to afford one for everyone who attended that screening.
Oh man, yeah. Dude, I miss screenings. Do you remember those? I'm talking about horror movies, and
I still have. I live in Austin. We have the Alamo Draft House. They never once they open back up, they don't stop doing screenings.
Yo, road trip to Mark Wanner's place in Austin. Let's go. We're rating him.
Oh God. I don't have a big enough place to host company, so feel free to just squeeze in here.
We're coming through to Mark's place. Look out. After this episode's there, I'm going to link Mark's address. We're all coming through.
Admire my Michael Myers mask and my Malignant poster.
I'm going to admire that Showgirls thing that's on the top.
Holy shit, you can actually see that? That's not cut off from the frame?
Dude, why do you have a bunch of Vinegar Syndrome porn on your shelf too, dude? Like, whoa.
You haven't heard? It's okay to like porn now. It's been accepted on the Letterboxd.
If there's anybody that's okay with accepting porn, it's on this channel. Not with me, but it's okay to admit on this channel. But dude, the reason when I heard you were a big Halloween 2 fan, I was so excited because it like we talked about earlier.
Oh, actually, sorry. Let me go back because I didn't finish my story for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah, let me hear.
I'll make this quick because I can ramble. 2007, big year for horror. Grindhouse came out. I saw that Halloween documentary, and it made me realize just how much I love that franchise and that it's pretty much my favorite franchise, even though there's really only one great movie in that franchise at the time. My opinions on several of them have changed since then, but
sure.
2007 was also the year that we got Rob Zombie's Halloween. Rob Zombie was already pretty much one of my favorite directors just from Devil's Rejects alone. Love Devil's Rejects.
5 out of 5 film. Debatably one of the best movies in the last 25 years, in my opinion. So yeah, I share.
I would agree. And so naturally, I was excited to see this guy take on Halloween. The trailer of which, by the way, premiered at Grindhouse. So literally all these things that are making me a bigger horror fan are just kind of tied together.
Yeah.
And I was following the development of it on his MySpace page. He would always post updates. Remember MySpace?
Yeah.
God, this is ages ago.
I miss it.
And oh man, when that movie came out, I was so pumped for it. I had spent the summer just becoming even more of a horror fan, and I watched it. It's not a popular movie, but I loved it. That's probably one of the great movie-going experiences of my life, is that first night watching Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Nice, dude. That's kind of how I felt with watching Halloween 2018, which I hate they call it Halloween 2018, because that was my first Halloween movie to go to a premiere for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't get to see Rob Zombie's Halloween movies in theaters. I was a little bit younger, but I did watch them because my mom had rented them because she's a big horror fan. And those movies genuinely terrified me. Rob Zombie's Halloween terrifies me with just I remember I rewatched it last year in the first annual 24-hour marathon that Daniel and I did. I say annual because we're going to keep doing it. We're doing it again this year, and then we'll probably do it till we die. But but I remember watching it, and I just was terrified when he's in the house with Lori and he's stabbing the whole ramshacked house. I was like, this is fucking creepy.
Oh god, when he's using that using
Like-
that 2x4 to ram up into the ceiling.
Yeah.
Oh
Like
God, that is Rob Zombie is really good at capturing intensity on screen, like
Exactly.
brutality, intensity, just like when you feel everything that's happening in a Rob Zombie movie.
Yes, and that's going to lead me to the second thing. The thing that also terrified me in Halloween 2 for a long time as a kid was when he's stabbing Oscar winner Octavia Spencer.
Jesus Christ.
And when he's in the rain and throws the axe at Buddy or the security guard, I'm just like those were the scenes where, like, I'd walk into the living room and she's just watching him, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm freaked out as a kid right now, but this is also kind of awesome.
Those are some of my favorite slasher movie deaths, not because of just, oh man, they're cool, but because they are brutal, unpleasant, impactful. You feel them and you remember them.
And that's the thing about Rob Zombie, why I love in his whole filmography and why I love him so much. When I watch a Rob Zombie horror movie, I feel like that's exactly how a horror movie needs to feel like. Unpleasant, ugly, gross, iconic characters and actors, and kind of playing homage to earlier sort of horror movies, regardless, like nameless horror movies. And I feel like he's always kind of done that, and all his movies and his filmography, for the most part, can be drawn back to some sort of older horror movie. They're always going to be brutal. They're going to be honest. They're going to be ugly and grungy. And they have old actors in these movies that are icons at one point or another, or like, you know, B-movie actors. And I love him for it. And I feel like that's exactly when you look up horror, I feel like Rob Zombie's name in his movies should kind of be shown on there, because that's what I feel like every time when I watch his movies.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Like, my favorite horror movies are I have lots of different like things that I look for in horror movies, but one thing that really works for me is like a mixture of quote unquote entertainment and also discomfort. Like his movies, mainly like Devil's Rejects and the first Halloween, like there are a lot of entertaining elements in them. Like the way he writes characters, people give him shit for just like having a bunch of profanity laden redneck dialogue, and it's a good time. But on top of that, he'll always have things that make you feel uncomfortable. Like I mean, the Devil's Rejects is just that's a very uncomfortable movie. Like more so for me, like I disagree with the consensus on that movie is that you're like halfway through you kind of shift allegiance and you're siding with the Firefly family. I've never felt that way. I'm pretty much always on William Forsythe's side, because we see Otis cut a guy's face off and put it on his wife. And like, I'm sorry, no amount of like torture or brutality he enacts upon them is going to make me forget that.
I can't, I feel uncomfortable sometimes with my own skin, because when I watch a Rob Zombie movie, I'm like horrified, but like my eyes are glued to the screen, but I'm also kind of chuckling to myself. But it's not because I'm enjoying like the acts that I'm seeing, but I'm enjoying watching it, if that makes sense. Like I'm like,
absolutely.
I'm like, oh my God, he just fucking did that. That's fucking insane.
That's kind of taken to the max with Halloween 2, which is like maybe his like ugliest and most brutal movie. Like that's probably the least amount of entertainment value out of any of his movies, because it's just so much focused on trauma and what happens to the final girl after that movie, and how all these relationships have just been fractured.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said that, Mark.
Oh God, I love this movie. And like we do get entertainment value in this movie in the form of one Malcolm McDowell. But
Malcolm McDowell and strippers.
Oh my God. We'll get into all. I feel like we're just jumping around. We'll get into all this stuff, but like Malcolm McDowell, every scene with him and his publicist, like he is such an asshole in this movie, and you just have so much fun watching him. But at the same time, you're just recognizing that he's enjoying this fame and fortune at the expense of everyone who lost their life in Haddonfield. Like everyone else's life was ruined by the Michael Myers, but Loomis is writing books and making millions of dollars off of it.
Yeah, I have this actually in my notes. We'll let me just get this off, and then we'll go directly into Halloween 2. love Loomis's character shift in these Rob Zombie movies compared to Donald Pleasance in the John Carpenter Halloween movies, because it gives a necessary added antagonist. It's not like the supernatural antagonist that's Michael Myers in a way. I mean, he's human, but I mean, Michael Myers is not exactly human. Especially with this new movie coming out. But Loomis,
that's one thing that my sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's one thing my friends and I always kind of make fun of is you always hear people talk about Michael Myers when they're interviewed about Halloween. Like, the thing that's scary about him is that he's a man. He's not a monster or a supernatural being. And it's like, well, he got shot 6 times. He shoves his thumb through people's foreheads, even just in the Rob Zombie movies. Like, he gets shot point blank in the head by Laurie. He's able to lift a car and drop it off an embankment. Like, this is not a human being. There is a supernatural bent with this guy. And I feel like that's at its most explicit in this one, giving the like psychic connection between Laurie and Michael.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying with Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It adds that real life villain in horror, which is Malcolm McDowell, you know, like the profiteering, the disregard and added trauma that comes to the real world, aside from the psychological and mental world that Laurie goes through in this movie, is such a smart and different take that this franchise has ever seen. And when we talk about horror movies, we talk about Rob Zombie, we talk about icons like Halloween and in other franchises, we're so quick to brush off these characters in these movies and not actually think about them as humans and people. But Rob Zombie is kind of like the only person in all of these movies. When you think about Halloween 1 or Friday the 13th 1 to 2, we think about the final girl in that movie and what happens in Friday the 13th part 2. She gets immediately ousted. Like, James Miner just goes, she's gone. You know, Nightmare 2, it's a different protagonist. And then Nightmare 3, Heather Lamkamp comes back and she's scarred, but we don't get too much about it. She's basically like this mentor in a way. You think about anything like outside of, I guess, Neve Campbell in the Scream movies, you don't get any sort of like closure with these characters, but those are direct sequels, you know, when we're talking about the Scream movies. But in Halloween 2, we get Laurie Strode going through PTSD and mental illness and just kind of recovering. You don't ever see that ever. And I think that's part of the reason this movie is overly criticized at times, because it doesn't feel like a Halloween movie in the sense of like Michael Myers just killing senseless people. It's more or less like a journey. It's like a journey through like trauma, like you said, and just mental illness. And I'm no doctor, but if this movie didn't have Halloween as the title cards for this movie, I think this movie would probably be in something like the Criterion Collection or something like that.
And I would be the first one to buy a copy of that.
Wow, we really just said on this podcast that a Rob Zombie movie should be on the Criterion Collection besides Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, Noah Baumbach has like 5 movies in the Criterion Collection, and Rob Zombie has none. I think that's fucking criminal.
You bastard! Fuck you.
Okay. Let's sub someone else in. Let's sub.
You're the only person I've ever said that to on this podcast besides
Jean. Like, let's talk about Rob Zombie for a second, because you mentioned Ari Aster, who I love. Sorry, but he's very pretentious. Like, people like him and Robert Eggers, they're a little pretentious when they talk about their movie. A little pretentious. They're very pretentious. Rob Zombie has no pretension whatsoever. Like, I went to they had the local premiere of Lords of Salem at South by Southwest, so I was able to go there, and he had a Q&A for it.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, that's another one of like great movie going experiences of my life. And he's just a riot at Q&As. Like, he doesn't have these like far-fetched pretentious answers. If anything, he'll act like he didn't put nearly as much thought into the movie as he actually did. He's kind of like the Coen brothers in that way, although not as openly cheeky. Like, oh god, I just remember someone asked him like, what was the significance of, like, you know, the trip to the moon background on Sherry's like behind Sherry's bed? He's like, I don't know, I just thought it'd be cool to put it there.
That's the thing, people, I think Rob Zombie kind of ushered in this whole rockabilly kind of like aesthetic to horror movies when you think of like Tucker and Dale, and like Trailer Park Boys and like The Hills Run Red, these kind of like country almost type of horror movies in a sense, kind of ushered that in. But honestly, the man's knows his shit. Like he's basically doing what Tobe Hooper was doing back in the 70s and the 80s. And he's doing things like, I mean, I've had these discussions off the mic and when I'm just with Daniel all the time. Like he loves his Universal monster movies. He loves his Tobe Hoopers. He knows his shit. Like he's super smart. He just doesn't like let it get to his head. And that's what I really like about his movies too. He's just like, I love horror movies. I know the fans love horror movies. I'm going to put something out that the fans are going to, I think, really like. And he does it in different subgenres of horror. And you kind of get like that. It's weird. I think you're a great actor if like you make certain movies in different subgenres that people recognize as different in a way. So like Lords of Salem I feel like Lords of Salem feels like an 824 film before 824 we even caught wind. The Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, and even the Three from Hell. I feel like that's a Rob Zombie movie. You think about it when you watch like a Scorsese movie. You think about it when you watch like a Coen Brothers movie. You kind of get these kind of like these vibes with like certain directors and the type of movies they make. And Rob Zombie has that kind of staple. And I think that really accredits to his directing style and his aesthetic and his writing. And I think he's done well as a director in like these last almost 25 years. And I think the biggest criticism people have with him is because he just happened to make a remake of an iconic horror movie that people weren't happy with for whatever reason. And he also, stars his wife in a lot of his movies, which I think is awesome, but people don't like that for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Flanagan casts his wife and everything these days. No one cares, but Rob Zombie does it, and it's like, oh man, what's wrong with you? I think deep down, people just are angry that their wives aren't as hot as Sherry Moon Zombie, and they feel like he's rubbing that in their face. And like the guy just loves his wife. Like, oh my god, my old roommate who I went to see Three from Hell with, like his Letterboxd review for Three from Hell was just, it's adorable how much he loves his wife, because her introduction to that is just her walking in slow motion down this prison hallway while Susie Quattro's The Wild One plays. Oh my god, it's so awesome.
Cinema.
Like, he just wants us to think that his wife is as awesome as he does.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy.
I love her. I love their relationship. I love that they love working together. I love that she pretty much only works with him. Actually, to my knowledge, she's only been in one thing not directed by him, and that was the Toolbox Murders, which was directed by Tobe Hooper.
Oh, dude, you got to send me a link to this movie. I've never heard of this, but I kind of need to watch it.
It's one of my favorite Tobe Hooper movies. It's definitely probably his like best modern movie.
Oh,
R.I.P. I say that like he's still making movies. We unfortunately lost him.
Yeah,
love you, Toby.
Yeah, Tobe Hooper. I was late to the game with Tobes, but once I got into his shit because of Daniel, I was just like, yeah, this is kind of my speed right here, Oh
god, he's awesome, and yeah, you can tell he's a huge influence on Zombie, like particularly Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. Like he cast Bill Moseley, and House of a Thousand Corpses just has that same kind of manic, insane energy that's almost like flying off of the screen.
Yeah, it's an infusion of the fun house in Texas Chainsaw 2 for me. And that's why I love Devil's Rejects and the House of Thousand Corpses. It's kind of like a weird fused baby. It feels like it feels like Universal Monsters Frankenstein with Tobe Hooper's, Texas 2 and Funhouse. It's a weird mashup like that.
That's a great way to put it. I would completely agree, actually. One thing about him, though, I don't dislike it because I did love Three from Hell, but it's like he was kind of going off in a different direction with Halloween 2. He started getting a little more surreal with his work. Like, it was kind of the middle ground between all these influences that you really hadn't seen in his work until then that he was drawing on. And because the reaction to Lords of Salem was so negative, I feel like he's been retreating back to like just doing the redneck horror, the hick shtick, as Hayden calls it. And I don't like. I'm not like I don't have a problem with that because I did really enjoy 3 from Hell. I didn't really like 31. To date, it's really the only Rob Zombie movie I don't like. Although I haven't seen the Haunted World of El Super Beasto.
The only Rob Zombie movie I haven't seen is 31, and I bought it at the end of October last year, and I've been saving it for this holy month. So I'll come back and report.
I genuinely hope you like it more than I do. 'Cause I don't dislike it. There's a lot to like in that movie, but it feels almost like just Rob Zombie doing his greatest hits. Like he even in the Q, I went to the Fathom event screening of that, and they had a little recorded Q&A with him afterward.
I love
and
those.
he was like he was saying something like well, I tried to make this other movie and it couldn't get it off the ground. I'm like, well, I don't know. What's something I can make really cheaply? He came up with the idea in like 10 seconds and like, okay, I'll make that. And again, he doesn't take Q&As too seriously, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But it's kind of like, it sounds like your heart wasn't fully in this idea. You just wanted to get something made quickly. And that's the movie you actually took fan money to make it with. So it feels a little insulting. But again, Rob Zombie, he's a filmmaker with heart. So I don't want to think that he definitely didn't just make something really easily. Like, I've watched the behind the scenes for 31. That's a movie that he still put a lot of work into. It just doesn't feel that way when you watch it.
Good to know. I'm really highly anticipating this 31 rewatch. Oh, not rewatch, but first time watch. And I'm with you. I really enjoyed 3 from Hell. I was a little, when I first watched, I only watched it once, and I'll probably I most likely will rewatch it again. There was a lot of things I liked in it. It's just weird to see it in the context of Devil's Rejects was 2005, and now I'm watching 3 from Hell. You know, like you feel like that gap. But on rewatch, I don't think that'll change that much. Also, I was kind of emotional watching it because it's like I was sick, but also like Sid Haig had recently passed, and like, you know, watching that is just like he was barely in it. It just sucked. I love Sid Haig and the movies he was in.
Sid Haig was incredible in those movies. Like,
yeah.
God, so many of his quotes are memorable. Like, don't you like clowns? Don't we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
My younger
that's an immediately iconic character.
I used to tease my brother at times. I used to say, little Dick Wick played with this prick. You touch it too much, it smells gonna make you sick. I used to say that to my fucking younger brother because I watched House of a Thousand Corpses way too young of an age, and God bless Family Video's manager for letting me rent that at the age I did. But yeah,
I had a dad who owned a used DVD store, so I could always just like borrow stuff from there. So I could always get away with borrowing like whatever the fuck I wanted to watch.
Yeah, that's how I watched my Haunted World of El Super Beasto, which is basically Rob Zombie hentai, which is awesome. And then watch After Porn Ends. You know, shout out Family Video in Rockford, Illinois. So let's go into Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 now. We've had our fun. Let's get into it. So Rob Zombie Halloween 2 takes place a year after the Rob Zombie 1, which I feel
that's actually did you watch the theatrical version or the director's cut?
I've seen both.
Okay, so the director's cut takes place 2 years after the events of the original, and the theatrical version only takes place 1 year. Oh God, there are so many differences between this one. But
there is, but I'll let it be known now. I'm kind of a fan of the theatrical.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I say that, but that's because I also recently watched the first one theatrical, and I really like that one. So it kind of flows
the first
a little bit better.
Theatrical, let's just say the escape scene in the first one is definitely better in the theatrical. Like, as much as I like Rob Zombie making us uncomfortable, like, I think it maybe takes it a little too far in that director's cut.
Yeah, that's a good point. And with 2, I kind of watched the theatrical again because I recently rewatched the first one theatrically, so it flowed a little bit better. But I do remember in the unrated cut the different scenes, and I do remember that 2-year different gap. But I will say, for those, I do recommend just watching both in theatrical to start. And if you enjoy them, then go and watch the director's cut of the second one after.
I would disagree. I would say watch the theatrical cut of the first one, then watch the director's cut of the second, because I personally prefer the director's cut, and I feel like I just feel like the changes are so strong that they make an automatically better movie. Although the only problem with that is if you ever go back and watch the theatrical cut, you're gonna automatically hate. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm coming at this from my own personal bias.
Sure,
I said I adore the director's cut. You might still prefer the theatrical cut, but I feel, I see what's happening here. Cris is going to be advocating for the theatrical cut. I'm going to be advocating for the director's cut. Maybe that's a good dynamic to have on here.
No, I think the theatrical and like you said, the theatrical and unrated of 2, you can't go wrong with either. But I would always vouch now for Halloween 1 being theatrical watch. The unrated cut doesn't do anything different, and it's
I would definitely say watch the theatrical, but there are moments in that original unrated cut that I do think are pretty good. Like there are shots of Michael kind of walking in the background of the frame that are so much creepier. You don't get those shots in the theatrical. I think that those are great, but I don't think they're enough to justify. There's nothing really in that director's cut to justify sitting through that escape scene.
Yeah, I would say in 2 there are more significant changes. It's a longer movie. The scenes are definitely altered in some aspects, like the 2-year gap with the 1-year gap. The strip club seems a little different in the unrated director's cut. You get things like that.
I mean, basically, we're going to be spoiling the movie, so we might as well go ahead and get to it. At the end of the theatrical version, Lori is just crazy and in an insane asylum, and she's just having visions of her mother and the white horse. In the director's cut, she dies, and that's supposed to represent her afterlife, and that's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, the ending is the big difference in this one for sure. But everything else leading up to it, it's just like small altered scenes, details.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of like the theatrical ending a little bit more. But I do like the opening to this movie, regardless of what scene you watch. When you first watch this movie, it's Lori is in the hospital and Michael comes to take her.
Well, hold on. Before we get there, we have to talk about one of the best ever supporting characters on film. And that is Coroner Gary.
Oh.
With one scene, this guy makes such an impression that you just never forget about. Like, the stuff he says is absolutely horrid, and you don't feel too bad for him with that when you see what happens to him, which another one of those just exceedingly brutal zombie deaths. But he and his buddy Dayton Callie, who's the Dayton Callie from Deadwood and Sons of Anarchy, they're transporting the bodies to the morgue, and Richard Brake, Gary Scott, just happens to talk about a couple of coroners a few counties over who are and he is such a perfect sleazebag. It is a perfect I honestly think a Best Supporting Actor Oscar would be earned by this gentleman from this performance alone if I were responsible for
never been more tempted than now.
Oh my God. And he's like, the way the camera, like when he says what they're doing, the camera like pans down just to his mouth and you see his filthy teeth. Like, Rob Zombie is such a detail-oriented director, and like the way the actors help with that, God, it's just, he's got such a great crew working for him. Anyway, I had to bring up Gary Scott. I had to bring up Richard Brake because I genuinely love that actor. I'm excited whenever I see him, be it in something like something great like Halloween 2 or something like Doom. I'm just always happy to see that guy. Anyway, yeah, we open. Well, first, sorry, I feel like I'm just like hijacking the podcast now.
No, you're totally fine.
We do have that opening quote about the white horse, and then the flashback to Deborah. By the way, Sherry Moon Zombie's work in Halloween 1 is my favorite performance of hers. I think she is incredible as the mother who's just trying to hold her, like just trying to give a good life to her son, and she is heartbreaking in that movie.
Yeah, fat Michael Myers.
Oh my God. I love that. I don't love that first one as much as this, but I do love that first one.
I think, yeah, the thing that Rob Zombie explores that other movies don't explore is that Michael's childhood and his upbringing impacts his life. He's such a mama's boy, which is fitting. And this movie, I don't think this movie almost feels Freudian in a way, where it's like he loves his mom so much and she impacts his decisions and his personality so much that he even sees visions of her throughout the movie. And then so in the beginning, this movie obviously shows you right away that Michael has some sort of, I guess, mental connection to Laurie, because she has dreams about Michael Myers coming to kill her in the hospital in brutal scenes, and that basically are homage to the original Halloween 2. And you get some really great kill sequences, and you also get Michael Myers grunt sounds as well, which you really don't get. You don't get breathing or grunting noises in Halloween movies except in the Rob Zombie 2, I feel like, which I think is a nice added feature. It really humanizes Michael Myers, which I think is Rob Zombie's goal in this movie. He really humanizes Michael. But right off the bat, like you said, the pan shot earlier in the coroner's car, this movie is nothing but full of close-ups and POVs of Michael Myers. And I think that's a really nice added touch in this movie.
Yeah, I love the shooting decisions he makes here with his DP Brandon Trost, who's the esteemed DP of movies like This Is the End, The Disaster Artist, the Neighbors movies. Lots of movies that are nothing like Halloween 2 or The Lords of Salem.
Yeah.
But
honestly, distinctively, like style-wise, this movie and Lords of Salem kind of have similar aspects. They're both really dark, dim-lidded movies with two female protagonists who are struggling with some sort of mental or PTSD symptoms as well.
Yeah, and you also get those really surreal sequences. And the thing about the surreal sequences in this is the camera's not handheld. It's smooth. You get clean shots of everything, which is very much the shooting style for Lords of Salem. There's no handheld work there, which is pretty much his dominant aesthetic up until that point.
Yeah, man. I feel like this movie, Halloween 2, is really kind of like a not a renaissance, but like a different chapter in Rob Zombie's works, you know, because up to this point he was doing the House of 1,000 Corpses and such. And then with Halloween 1, I feel like Halloween 1 was very much Rob Zombie being like, I really, really want to make a movie that shows I'm a lover and fan of these movies. And then with Halloween 2, he's like, now I can kind of be artistic. I can be creative. You know, I have the money for it now. And he does that with Lords of Salem, and he does it with Halloween 2. And he takes such not weird, but like such untraditional approaches to his filmmaking styles. And I really like that because they feel like different movies. And to quote Daniel from Cobwebs, you know, a remake is done well when you watch it and you can tell the difference between that and the original. You feel like you're watching different movies, and you feel that with Halloween 1 and 2. Halloween 2 way more. But yeah, I think this movie, like I said, this movie is a great study of mental illness, PTSD. But another big trait, it really kind of, whether he means to or not, for me on rewatch, it feels like it's a deconstruction of like toxic family structures, you know, like the toxic household. You know, people always say, you know, family is thicker than blood, or whatever the quote is with that. Michael's upbringing fucking sucked, and a lot of people had really bad upbringings. And, you know, we kind of, you know, brush it off and say like, oh, well, they're family, you know, toxic behavior, toxic traits. We brush it off because it's family, it's blood. And in this movie, Rob Zombie's kind of saying like, yeah, you know, you can say that, but, you know, how can you excuse this? You know, like you're like Laurie Strode is literally related to Michael Myers, and look at his upbringing and look what happened to her, you know. And even with Brad Dourif is like the police officer, and he's kind of become like a symbiotic father figure for Laurie. You know, there's some kind of like tense moments in that household as well. And it's so interesting.
The tense moments are generally between Annie and Laurie. Like Brad Dourif is usually like they're usually pretty peaceful when he's around. He's kind of the one that's keeping, like, I don't want to say holding things together, because he usually, whenever there's something wrong with Laurie, he kind of just pushes that on to Annie, like, hey, go take care of that, because he's clearly uncomfortable with it. But Yeah, whenever it's just Annie and Laurie, like things get, well, again, at least in the director's cut. This is another difference between the theatrical and director's cut. Laurie and Annie's relationship is a lot more turbulent in the director's cut. You see a lot more arguments between them. But in the theatrical cut, you don't really get any of that. You think they're still really good friends. They survived this ordeal. They're closer than ever. But that's not the case. Like this situation fucked them up. And like they both kind of serve as a constant reminder of that night for the others. And that kind of like makes them feel both like, it just makes them feel angry and guilty at the same time. And it's a real, as you said, it's an incredibly subversive, what's the word I'm looking, dynamic to explore in what's essentially a popcorn slasher movie.
Yeah, it's weird because this movie doesn't, like I said, you take Halloween 2 off the title cards, this movie probably would have done so much better. Laurie's also casted differently in this movie too than in the first movie. And I really appreciate the change of the actor, but also like people complain that Laurie Strode is not in the Rob Zombie movies is not Jamie Lee Curtis type at all. You know, I've heard these complaints, but I like the Laurie Strode in the Rob Zombie movies. I feel like both actresses feel like they fit in that world, you know?
No, Scout Taylor Compton, delightful actress, by the way. I heard an interview with her once on the Shockwaves podcast, and she said the director she most wanted to work with is the Steve Beck who directed 13 Ghosts and Ghost Ship. And that's like, that is so awesome. That's the guy you want to work with. Like, that's coming at it from just a love of doing what you do. Like, you're not chasing any clout. You're not like just, it's just such a unique answer, and I love it. Anyway, she's great in this role, in the different ways that she plays the role in the original and the sequel. Because in the original, she's very much the kind of reserved, quiet, I don't want to say nerdy, but like slightly nerdy vibe. But she's the more quiet one, and then Annie is the more party animal. Yeah. And those roles are kind of reversed in this, where Scout is the party animal, the kind of more obnoxious one, and Danielle Harris is reserved. And I never really realized this until I was reading a little book about it last night, but she never really leaves the house in this. It's almost like she's become agoraphobic, as if that incident has made her scared just to go outside. Like, I think I've seen this movie countless times, and I somehow never put that together. So
good point.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was another like subtle zombie touch, doing like just being smarter than we ever give him credit for.
Yeah, what the fuck? Why does Rob Zombie get off and making a pre-A24 film with Halloween 2? Honestly,
A24, give Rob Zombie some money.
Seriously. But yeah, so Laurie's different. I love Dr. Loomis being different in this movie, like we touched on earlier. I think that's what makes this Rob Zombie's 2 Halloween movies stand out, in my opinion, and separate itself from the pack. Also, we got to talk about Michael Myers in this movie. He is hobo Michael Myers. Like, throughout most of this movie is Laurie coming to terms with what happened to her on that night on Halloween, and the rest of the movie is also about her mental connection to seeing how Michael sees the world as a kid, following an imagination of his mom. And he's a hobo, basically. He's bearded, long hair. He's 7 foot tall, half a mask on, roaming the countryside. So crazy. And no one knows if he's dead or not.
Wearing the mask. Yeah. Yeah, there are times when he's just, there were several shots, I think, that were cut from the theatrical version where he's just not wearing the mask. He's just standing, because it's...
Yeah, he's just bullying.
Yeah, he's just fucking Grizzly Adams, just standing there wandering the countryside all alone, and he only puts the mask on when he's about to do some killing. Like he's going to kill old Mark Boone Jr. and Dwayne Whitaker. Love seeing those heavy-set rednecks show up just to get killed.
Those boys.
I
Yeah.
love Mark Boone Jr. Every time I see that guy show up in anything, I'm happy.
But honestly, Michael in these Rob Zombie movies, he's from a figure standpoint, he's menacing. Like, good God, like 7 foot tall, muscular, long hair or beard, and I love, like, again, the masks in the Rob Zombie movies heighten the menace of like Michael Myers so much in these movies. I love the masks.
Oh yeah, no, that was a lot of things that Hallow Green, which is what I called the Halloween 2018 film, courtesy Halloweenies podcast. I didn't come up with that on my own. But a lot of people give that credit for things that Rob Zombie did first, like the grungy mask or Laurie kind of dealing with her trauma, which that actually goes back to Halloween H2O. But now I'm just going off on tangents. Anyway, the grungy mask is such a cool idea. Like, just the mask got left at the house and it just kind of started falling apart over the years. And then
I agree. Rob Zombie doesn't get the kind of credit he does with these movies. Also, like,
but that's why we're here.
Yeah, and like the little subtleties that are like, people be like, "Oh, gross" or whatever. I find it very entertaining. Like the strip club scene in this movie, where the Rabbit Red Strip Club. I think it's called Rabbit Red. I think it's Rabbit Red Strip Club.
The Rabbit in Red. Yeah, that's a nod to a matchbook.
To a what?
A matchbook that says The Rabbit in Red. And that's kind of a Zombie's homage to that by naming the strip club The Rabbit in Red.
Oh, nice. I also love I love how it tags it as the home of Michael Myers' mom.
Dancing on stage to Love Hurts. That's the thing that people will always make fun of. I fucking love that.
I think it's
like
just reality bites right there.
Oh, yeah. And then Love Hurts comes back. That's the song that they play over the director's cut ending when Laurie's dead. They play this sad, moody cover of Love Hurts that for the longest time I couldn't even listen to it. Just hearing the song made me cry. Whenever I'd shuffle my music and I'd come across it, I love Big Lou and his grumpy bouncer Howard, played by now zombie mainstay Jeff Daniel Phillips. What might actually be my favorite role of his, because he's just like grumpy the whole time. He does the little like karate move when he's by himself. He just wants to imagine himself beating the shit out of this guy.
Enjoy the gonorrhea, old man.
I love it. And he's just like mumbling to himself, complaining. And when he sees Michael, he's not scared. He's just immediately irritated. Like, what the fuck you doing back here, man?
It's because he's a hobo.
He's a dirty hippie, is what he calls him. He's like Rick Dalton. And then he gets like, for my money, the coolest head stomp in movie history. 2 years pre-drive. Take that, Reffin.
It's so clean. The head stomping is so clean. Every gory scene in this movie is amazing. It's impeccable. From Octavia Spencer getting stabbed on the floor with the grunts, I feel those stabs all the way to that head stomping into the head bashing in the glass of that stripper.
And the fucking the strip club owner's arm breaking,
and you see the bone.
Yeah. Oh my god! And that primal scream that he lets out, like you feel the agony.
Mm-hmm. This movie's all about like physical pain and like mental surrealness, because even like the ending scene, because basically this movie is just Michael traveling through to find Laurie, because Laurie now knows that she's related to Michael, and to Dr. Loomis basically defending himself throughout this whole movie, which he's kind of a chum. He's almost like the biggest villain of this whole movie, more than Michael.
Oh yeah, and it takes former real life villain Chris Hardwick to help him realize that he's not that he is a villain. We're not going to dive into that, but
no, please don't.
it's weird. It's just weird seeing Chris Hardwick in something, but he does have some great lines here, like when Loomis is talking about how like he feels like the world is against him because they feel like he's profiteering, and Chris Hardwick's just like, yeah, everyone feels really bad for you, and just blows him off. That is a quote that my friends and I frequently just send to each other, just like jokingly in conversations.
I love the part where he has the audacity to criticize the Haddonfield Police Department about losing Michael, and Brad Dourif is watching it on the other TV screen. I'm like, you prick.
Oh my God. Speaking of Brad Dourif, can we talk about so did you only watch the theatrical cut for this viewing, or like when's the last time you saw the director's cut?
It's been 2 years.
Okay, so do you remember Annie's death scene and Brackett like showing up and seeing her dead body? Because it's sad in the theatrical version. In the director's cut, it is devastating. Like Brad Dourif is just like a shell of a man. Like that is Brad Dourif, one of my absolute favorite actors, and this movie's a big reason for that. Like this might be my favorite performance of his.
Yeah.
And it's that juxtaposed with the music and the video of like young Danielle Harris. It's just all comes together to just, it's a gut punch.
Yeah.
Like this is a sad, angry movie. This is not what people expect when they go into a Halloween movie.
No,
oh my
but it's
God.
oddly satisfying and rewatchable at times.
Oh, absolutely. Like again, everything with Malcolm McDowell, even though it's rooted in tragedy, is hilarious. Like just how condescending he is. Like his publicist, he's like, oh, well, when I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
Oh, yeah.
He is such a fucking prick. And Malcolm McDowell is having so much fun playing him that way.
Yeah, again, Mike, like Rob Zombie picks like these actors you don't usually think about, and he makes them different. And again, with remakes, Loomis in this movie is definitely different than Donald Pleasance was in Halloween 2. Dr. Loomis in Halloween 2 from John Carpenter, he's concerned for Laurie, and he kind of pieces together that Laurie's in danger throughout the whole movie and actually saves her. In this movie, he's out to kill her, basically. I love how Michael Myers in this movie is his whole vibe is basically, I need to rectify certain inequities in this movie.
Oh yeah, he's basically killing everyone that's like keeping him and his sister apart, like all her new friends, or Annie and Sheriff Brackett, like just anyone who, well, he doesn't kill Sheriff Brackett, but
the Halloween party though, the Halloween party scene,
oh my
fucking
God.
Impeccable.
That like the greatest party I've ever seen in a movie.
It's so damn cool. You see so many amazing things. You get to see a Wolfman virgin about to get laid. You get to see a giant inflatable pumpkin talking to you. You get to see a Rocky Horror. I forget the actor's name who plays. It's iconic in that.
The what's her name? Frankenfooter.
Yeah, no. It's who's the actor though who plays It's a guy.
Oh, that's
in the original.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. Like you get someone dressed up like Tim Curry from Rocky Horror in that movie.
I'm just gonna say this. Like this movie kind of let's just say I have a crush on almost every woman in this movie, and it probably kind of. God, what's the word I'm looking for?
They will all literally ruin your fucking life, but you're okay with it.
I'm okay with that. It literally like kind of determined the types of women that I'm attracted to.
Oh
this movie.
no! Oh no!
Okay, I'm just talking. Mainly, I'm talking looks. I'm not talking. I'm not talking personality. Like Laurie. I love Scout Taylor Compton's look in this. Like half dread, like she's basically on the verge of dreadlocks. You've got Bria Grant playing her friend with the like shorter bleached blonde dreadlocked hair, and then you've got
I think the ending to Halloween 2, we've kind of talked about basically the beginning and most of what this movie is, except the ending. I think the ending to this movie is definitely a director's choice. I feel like Rob Zombie kind of put a chef's kiss to his directing style with this movie and said, hey, I gave you a lot of what I've been giving you people who watch and support me. And now I'm showing you I'm going in a different direction with my filmmaking, because he makes Devil's Rejects after this. With such a...
You mean Lords of Salem?
Or Lords of Salem, sorry. It just feels like such a weird ending for a Rob Zombie movie. When you think about movies up until this point for him, it just feels so surreal and kind of like artistic, you know?
Absolutely. I cannot believe that this was a movie that got released in multiplexes nationwide.
Seriously.
I went to see this on opening night with a group of friends. They actually showed, it wasn't shot in IMAX, but they showed it in the IMAX theater, like the theater that I lived by my freshman year of college. On opening night, they would just, even if a movie wasn't in IMAX, they would usually project it on the IMAX screen. So I got to see this projected on the IMAX screen, and another one of my like great movie going memories. A lot of Rob Zombie memories are like great movie going memories for me, but I knew what I was going in for because I was a Rob Zombie fan. Well, I kind of knew. I wasn't expecting the weird directions he went down in this, but I liked weirdness and brutality in movies, so I was okay with it. I don't think my friends had any idea what the fuck they were watching or what they were in for, and they weren't like positive or negative afterward. They were just like, huh. And I think at the end they ended up not liking it, because I remember talking to one of them afterward and like, yeah, that first one was way better. I'm like, no, the second one is better.
That's usually how my arguments with Daniel, Nathan, and any person in general with sequels comes about.
God bless you, doing the Lord's work, propping up sequels.
I really am trying to do the Lords of Salem's work out here, for real. But yeah, seriously, I'm not going to talk too much about the ending unless you want to, because it's just like, it's just so, if you haven't seen the Rob Zombie Halloween 2, it's just like the ending is kind of, it's one of those endings for horror movies where it's like satisfying, you know, like there's no cliffhanger. There's no like, oh, that's such a mean ending. It's just kind of like closure. You know?
Well, the reason that we have the two different endings is because the Weinsteins wanted to guarantee that there would be a sequel, so they had to have an ending where she lived. And so, in a certain sense, they kind of wanted that to be a cliffhanger. And they actually did originally intend to make a sequel to this. I actually read an unproduced script that was going to be the sequel to this, written by Todd Farmer and Patrick Lussier, the My Bloody Valentine Drive Angry guys.
Oh, wow.
And it was not good. There was I won't say much about it except that it read more like a Friday the 13th movie than a Halloween movie, but I like those guys, I like those movies, but they should not have touched this property, because that was pretty bad.
I always thought
and
it'd be cool.
I was just gonna say, it is like, it's a definitive ending. When this movie ends, like, there shouldn't be another story. Like, it should end with Laurie dying and being reunited with her fucked up family in the afterlife.
I think I like having Rob Zombie's movies be alone and separate, because even in collections or when you talk in conversations, it's like we talk about Halloween and then we say Rob Zombie's Halloween, because he made those movies so distinctively different in his own that people can recognize that. And I think that speaks to his, you know, his creativity and his artistic choices. And I absolutely love that. I also think it's weird that in 2021, when it comes to like horror movie franchises, the only steady work is Michael Myers right now. We're not getting any Friday the 13th. We're not getting any Nightmare movies. We're barely getting Texas Chainsaw movies. You know, I'm just thinking of like Child's Play got a reboot, now it's getting a TV show. Scream had a TV show, but we're finally getting a Scream movie. It just kind of feels weird that we've kind of like, and Candyman remake, you know, it's just like, or sequel, excuse me. We've kind of been dragging our feet, I feel like, with the horror movies, for these like franchises.
I mean, we all know why Friday the 13th won't get a new one. Like, lawsuits are just like plaguing that franchise.
Oh,
to death.
really? Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. There's I don't know the specifics, but basically Victor Miller, the writer of the original Friday the 13th, is like suing for money that he's owed, or for the rights to the title. I think he has the title. I don't know. I don't understand the law. I don't understand copyright law. There's a lot of complexity to this issue, but basically lawsuits are the reason that we haven't gotten a new Friday the 13th and why we still aren't getting one.
Oh, wow.
Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't know what's going up with that. Maybe Jackie Earle Haley just made sure that we never ever want to watch another one of those movies. And maybe Rooney Mara is just like, I don't know. She just didn't like being in that movie. I can't think of anything smart to say.
No, it's all good. But yeah, Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie. You know, if you like A24 films, if you like iconic slasher icons, I feel like the Rob Zombie Halloween movies are right up your alley then. And I think I share the same thoughts with Mark when it comes to Halloween 2. It feels like such a different take on these movies. You kind of wish you get remakes like this once in a while because it's a breath of fresh air. Because a lot of the changes he made in this movie do feel very nice and different. It's kind of like Fede Alves's Evil Dead remake, you know? This Halloween 2 kind of feels like that's a little different. It's kind of a breath of fresh air, you know?
I did want to ask you one more question.
Yeah, of course.
So when you first watched Halloween 2 and it was revealed that everything at the beginning from Laurie waking up in the hospital was a dream, were you intrigued or disappointed when that first happened?
Okay. I was going to say, I was kind of happy that it was a dream sequence, but I was also so pleasantly happy that Rob Zombie decided to amp it up to 100 at the beginning of the movie for no goddamn reason. And it feels like a bait and switch, kind of like basically Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 feels like a bait and switch on the execs. I feel like he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a remake. Don't worry. Like, give me the money. I'll do it. And then he did whatever the fuck he wanted to do because he got the money instead. And he did it for the fans. So that's how I felt with it.
See, first, I just want to go to what I read. And there's a book called Taking Shape. It's kind of like this comprehensive look at the entire Halloween franchise. And I was reading the section on Halloween 2. And Rob Zombie said that when asked about the hospital setting, he's like, no, I wasn't trying to reference part 2. That just felt like the natural place to go after what happened in the first one. But
honestly, yeah.
Again, that kind of feels like him being cheeky because having an entire sequence set in a hospital, including going through the basement, which is what happens in the original, just to have it be a dream and like, oh no, this is not going to be the movie. It does feel like him directly commenting on that movie, like, gotcha. Opening night screening, and she woke up. I was so disappointed because I loved what I had seen so far. Like, it reminded me of High Tension in that it's a really brutal, just merciless, relentless chase movie. And I thought if he could have Rob Zombie could have maintained that tension for a whole movie. And if it didn't have any of the psychological depth that we got in the movie that we ended up getting, if it was just a surface level, just like New French Extremity inspired or 70s inspired chase movie, I would have been all right with that. I think that would have been awesome. But that first viewing, that's why I was kind of disappointed. But the movie obviously won me back over.
Yeah, that movie is so layered. It's insane.
That's great.
But yeah, Mark, man, we did it. We talked about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And for people listening, if they're not standing Rob Zombie filmography now, I don't know what else we can do to convince them.
We can talk about I don't know. We can talk about Jesus Christ, I'm out of it. I wanted to say something witty. I've got nothing.
Oh no, you're good.
We can talk about A24 movies, and then at the end I'm like, does that sound good to you? No? Oh. Well then how about this movie? Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 are absolute units of films that need to be watched. And Mark, I know you're sharing that opinion. And yeah, I think this October is perfect as any to watch Rob Zombie's movies, let alone these Halloween ones, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a new Halloween movie coming out. So just like you're going to probably be watching a lot of Halloween movies. You'll just be one of those people who only watches the first one and the 2018 one.
Yeah, don't be those people.
You should include the Rob Zombie ones in your October watching.
Yeah, like take out rewatching Hocus Pocus for the 5th time, remove that, and throw in Rob Zombie's 1 and 2 in there for sure. And
I've gone 31 years without watching Hocus Pocus, so that's not a problem for me.
There you go. There's a trend. People are staining the Malignant film as the second coming, and then they also talk about how many times they've already rewatched Hocus Pocus, I feel like. So Mark, hey man, thank you so much for being on here. What's going to be coming out with you soon? Do you got anything to give us like on your OnlyFans page?
Let's see. I've got a promo going right now. $5 a month. You get a bundle of just all my latest videos from the past month.
That's awesome. And it's like basically him nude holding all the movies he loves, covering his private parts. I love it.
Pretty much movies are covering my entire body except the private parts.
Oh, that would be crazy.
No, I said earlier I'm gonna be on I'm gonna be doing a Schlock and Awe. I don't know if it's gonna be, we're gonna be recording it this October. I don't know if it's gonna come out this October. I hope it does because it is horror centric, but I'm gonna be talking about another one of my recent favorite horror movies that's quickly moving its way up in my favorites ranking. And I am so excited.
That's awesome, man. And where can people find you?
That's really the only one I can think of off the top of my head I've got coming up.
That's awesome. And where can people find you at, Mark?
You can find me, just look me up, Mark Wanner on Letterboxd, MarkWanner. At this is where my Twitter handle comes in, becomes relevant. At the Shape 14, that's capital THE _ capital SHAPE 14 on the Twitters. That's about it.
And it's the Hubie Halloween Adam Sandler profile pic as always.
Yes. You see, I didn't have to change my profile pic to something Halloween friendly. I've had that all year long.
God bless Mark Wanner. If you're fans of this podcast and this episode, I highly recommend people, subscribe to the channel. You can follow us at InsideTheSequel.com. Follow us on Twitter at InsideSequel. If you missed our last episode, we had the co-directors, both directors of the Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. I highly recommend you check that out and listen to this episode, and then tune in for next week where we have Michael Scott from the Atkins Undisputed podcast to talk about the Purge 3 election year, which I'm very excited for.
I can't wait to hear that one.
I appreciate it, man. I'm excited myself. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. And remember, if you aren't standing Rob Zombie cinema, do you even care about cinema? Anyway, we'll see you next time.